Hi guys, welcome back to Mentor and to a beautiful Copenhagen. Great to see you all back again, and to all of you new subscribers, very welcome to the channel. I hope you're enjoying the videos, and please come send me suggestions about new content. Tell me what you want me to talk about, because I'm doing this for you guys. It's only a hobby project of mine, and if you guys are enjoying it, I'm happy to keep doing it. So today I'm going to tell you a little bit about what happened after my skill test. So, as I was mentioning in my earlier podcasts about my typerating, I did my skill test. We did my skill test with a friend of mine down in Amsterdam. Once the skill test is done, your rating is still not done, because what you need to do after you have completed your simulator training is the base training. Now, that means that you actually have to go out and fly the actual aircraft for a minimum of 6 landings, but as many as it takes in order for the TRE who's conducting the base training to feel that you're safe to land the actual aircraft. So we proceeded going up to Stansted, sitting in a hotel, waiting for the weather conditions to be correct. And we were sitting there every morning. We were getting up, super excited, thinking today is going to be the day, and then it turned out that it was too much crosswind, or that the most normal or the most common reason that we couldn't do it was that the aircraft was needed to do a sector somewhere else. Then one day it turned out that they had a spare aircraft and the weather conditions were good, so we went out to the airport. And we proceeded by doing a walk around. So this is the first time you actually do a walk around in the real aircraft. You've read about it in the manuals, you know what you're supposed to look at, but it's a completely different thing when you know that you're actually going to fly the beast. So we went out, we did a walk around, the whole group, together with the TRE, and he showed us everything. We selected the flaps down to flaps 40 just to see how all the fairings looked, and everything is fantastically interesting, especially when you know that you're about to actually get to fly the thing for the first time. So this happened up in East Midlands, and the way it was done back then, and I think it's still done like that today, is that the whole group, normally around 10-12 people or so, board the aircraft. Make sure that everything is fine. We do the security checks on board, because obviously there's no cabin crew on board. And you arm the slides, and then you start. So the takeoff, and today you actually do your touch and goes. You do as many as needed, normally around 8-10 of them or so. And then you taxi in, refuel, check the brakes, and then you taxi out and you take off again. But back then, when I did this, we changed positions on the downwind. So you sit in there, you know you were next in turn, and then suddenly, while you were airborne, the cockpit door opened, you saw the light from the cockpit, and they just, hurry, come in. So I went in, sat down into the right-hand seat, strapped into the seat buckles, seat belts, and then onto the controls. And then you look around and you realize that you're actually suddenly flying a big Boeing 737, 60, well, in that case not 16, but around 55 tons of aircraft. And for the first time, when you look out the window, you're not only seeing a black simulator wall, but you're actually seeing a wing sticking out. And that's one of the big memories I have. That feeling of, oh, this is the real thing. This is the real deal. But you don't have that much time. At least I didn't have that much time to think, because you're on downwind. So by the time that I had strapped into my seatbelt and everything, it was almost time to turn base. So the base TRE said, or the base training captain said, all right, so we're downwind. You have the airport down there to the right. Do you see it? Yeah. Are you happy to take controls? Yeah, sure. So he handed over the controls, took over, and then turn base. Start selecting flaps, start reducing your speed, looking, make sure that you're on the correct path, turning final, selecting landing flaps, making sure that the thrust setting is correct, that you're on the pop, is on the center line, a little bit of crosswind. So moving yourself down while the base training captain is continuously giving you suggestions, telling you, all right, so that's good, take a little bit less thrust, look, make sure that you continue with the poppies, make sure you don't shy away from the runway, which by the way is one of the most common things to do, because the closure rate in one of these big aircraft is much, much quicker than what you're used to when you're coming from a Cessna. So the natural instinct when you're closing in towards the runway at a high rate is to just pitch back a little bit, and that's where you go high. And these aircraft, since you have an approach speed of around 135, 140 knots or so, if you start to do a small change in pitch, you will very quickly become high on profile. So the base training captain was continuously giving me suggestions. All right, so continue down, and I still use that to this day. Actually, when you're thinking silent in your head, keep going down, to make sure that you don't pitch away just a slight bit from the runway. So we get down, you do the first landing, boom, down, good landing on where it's supposed to be, on the touchdown zone. And when you do touch and go landings, it's different than a normal landing. On a normal landing, you would immediately make sure that the speed brakes comes up and select reverses. But obviously, if you're doing a touch and go landing, you can't select reverses. As soon as you select the reverses, that's it. You can't continue with a touch and go from that. You are committed to land. So in a touch and go, the speed brake will not be armed, so it will be down, and the training captain is telling you that, all right, do not select reverses, which is completely against everything that you've learned in the sim, but it's for the exercise. So as you touch down, the training captain will say, stand them up, to which you move the thrust levels up to about mid position. And while doing that, the training captain is moving the flaps to the flap selection needed for takeoff. I think it was used flaps 15, if I'm not mistaken, for this exercise. And is also trimming the aircraft to 6 degrees, more or less nose up, to get the correct trim. So while the engines are spooling up and he's changing the trim and the flap setting, when the flap setting is correct, both engines are stabilized, he tells you go, and you push the thrust up. Training captain selects the correct takeoff thrust setting and calls rotate at the correct speed. So there's a lot of things happening on the runway, which means you need a fairly long runway to do these base trainings. But we were in East Midlands, that's a very nice long runway, and the training captains are very experienced at doing this. So when I heard rotate, just rotate, and off we go. And you start to take the flaps in again. You generally do these circuits as flaps 5 continuously. But we continue to do that. I managed to get all my touch and goes done, 6 touch and goes, which is the minimum. And then the time was up. It was a fantastic experience. It's probably one of the best you will ever have during your training, because it's the first time you feel that this is really, really for real now. This is the beast I'm going to fly for the next coming years. And it's a fantastic aircraft to fly. So that's the base training. The base training you will see in your manuals if you get to that, within whichever airline that you fly with. You are going to have to do base training, even if it's a Boeing 747, a jumbo jet, a 380, you're still going to have to do base training. So it's a very weird sensation to be flying a large jetliner around with no people around just for practice, but it is the way it needs to be done. If you have questions about this, then send them in. If not, then I'm glad that you were here watching it. I hope that you are continuously enjoying the channel, and I'll see you next time when I will be talking more about my line training. So stay tuned.